everybody, and welcome to the Executive MBA online information session. We're hosting this for our upcoming spring start date for the Executive MBA. Really just want to share some good information about the program, give you guys a solid understanding of what we're offering, and see if it could be a good fit for anybody who's able to attend this. Before we, before we really get into the presentation, I want to cover some logistics. In order to minimize background noise, we set this to broadcast only mode. What that means is you guys can all hear us. We've got a few different speakers on the line. However, we can hear your audio. So if you have any questions, you have the Q&A feature. It should be on the right bottom of your screen. Go ahead and ask any questions, add any comments in there, and we'll be able to see those and actually bring them up later in the conversation. Then finally, there's a recording of the session that's going to be emailed to you after the webinar. So if you have to hop off early or you want to watch this later or share this with anyone, you're able to watch the recording later after the session is over. Okay. I do want to cover just the agenda of the session, give you a bit of an understanding of what to expect. We're going to start off some introductions here, so you know who is speaking and sort of where we're coming from. And from there, we're going to dive into the history, the rankings and accreditation of Washington State University, as well as the Carson College of Business, and of course the Executive MBA. From there, we do have the military coordinator on, so we'll talk about some of the military and veteran student benefits that we have. Then we'll move into just a nice general overview of the program, so you know what the structure looks like and the flexibility. We'll talk about the admission requirements and the curriculum. From there, we do have a pretty cool opportunity. We have an international field study in the program. It's an optional opportunity for students, but we want to give you a clear picture on that opportunity and talk through sort of what it looks like and some of our networking events as well. Then we're also really lucky to have a student speaker on the line as well. So we'll talk about the day in the life of a student, what it looks like to be an Executive MBA student, and how people are able to balance that alongside with work. One of the highlights will be the Executive MBA Leadership Conference. We'll be diving into that a little bit as well as some additional networking events. We'll wrap up with a live Q&A session that I mentioned earlier. So again, any questions that you may have, please don't hesitate to chat those in the Q&A feature. All right, so let's start off with some introductions. You can see on the left side, I'm the third person down. My name is Darnell Johnson. I'm an Enrollment Advisor here for the online MBA as well as the online Executive MBA. Really, my job and my team's job is to help students as they research the program. And then if they need some, see if they're fit for the program, we're also here to guide students through the admissions process and really help craft the best application possible. We also have Mitch Swanner on the line. Mitch, can you take a second and introduce yourself?
Yeah, absolutely. Thanks, Darnell. So, yeah, my name is Mitch Swanner. I'm the Director of Admissions and Student Services for the Carson College of Business Graduate and Online Programs Office. So, essentially, my team and I oversee all of the day-to-day student operations from recruitment through graduation. And just thanks for being here. I'll kick it over to Matt.
Yeah, hello,
Awesome.
everybody.
Thanks,
I'm here, Military and Veteran Affairs Manager for the Carson College of Business, and I work primarily with our military-affiliated students, so that's active duty, veteran, and spouses, and glad to be here.
All right, thank you very much, Mitch, as well as Matt. Very excited to have you on the line as well. Then last and certainly not least, we have Hazel May Overturf on the line. Hazel May, can you take a second and introduce yourself?
Absolutely. Thank you so much, Darnell. I'm so excited to be here. My name is Hazel May Overturf, and I am a recent Executive MBA online graduate, graduated in December of 2020, almost a year ago. I'm currently the Senior Manager of Learning and Development at BECU, which is a credit union in the Northwest. And thank you so much for having me. So good.
Awesome. Awesome. Thank you very much, Hazel May. We're excited to bring you in later on the presentation and the day in the life as well as the Q&A section. But I do want to take this time to just talk a little bit about the history of Washington State University. Mitch, can you tell us sort of a little bit about Washington State?
Yeah, absolutely. Let's get the next slide over. So Washington State University was founded in 1890 in Pullman, Washington. And for those of you who may not be familiar with where we are located, Pullman is located on the eastern side of the state. We're right on the Idaho border. So for those of you who might know like where Seattle is or have a general idea, we're about 4.5, 5-hour drive from Seattle. Or if you're familiar with where Spokane is, we're just an hour south of Spokane. So WSU is Washington State's land-grant institution. So what that means is the university was founded on the mission of providing affordable education to anybody who was willing and able to pursue it. And started originally in 1890 as an agricultural school. So for those of you who have been to Pullman, you'll know that it's just wheat fields galore all around us, which made WSU, a perfect spot for being an agricultural school at the time of its launch. Obviously, it's grown much more than just being agriculture, although we do still have a very robust agriculture program. But it has grown into what it is today. We do have over 125 years of alumni legacy and currently have one of the biggest alumni associations. It's actually almost cult-like, to be honest with you. I've never seen an alumni base quite like WSU's. If you're wearing any type of WSU, swag, a shirt or a hat or something, and anywhere in the world, if another WSU alum sees you, they're likely to scream "Go Cougs" at you across the airport or wherever you may be. It's pretty crazy, but it's also pretty cool. And side note on the Alumni Association, if you do join our program, you have the opportunity to join the Alumni Association as a student at a discounted price. I'll get into that a little bit more later, but just as an FYI for you all. We do have over 60 years of grad business education and over 20 years of online degree programs. So our EMBA, our Executive MBA program online began in the spring of 2011 with the goal to work around the busy working professional. Obviously the EMBA students have professional lives and or families, so the program was designed to work around you and your busy lifestyles. And then lastly, we do have an international network of corporate and academic alliances, which allows our students more corporate learning opportunities. And if you go on the international study trip, you'll be able to see some of those opportunities. And I'll get into that a little bit more later as well.
Excellent. Thank you very much, Mitch. I think what I really want to filter into our online MBA is the 20 plus years of perfecting online degrees. We've come a long way and are constantly changing and making it more flexible. Then the international network of corporate and academic alliances definitely feeds into the curriculum as well as the optional international field study. And we'll dive into that a little bit later as well. All right. So at this point, I'm going to talk a little bit about the accreditation and rankings of Carson College of Business and the Executive MBA program. Now, I think it's really a great starting point for the research as you're looking at schools. Accreditation, I think, is a great way to evaluate sort of the academic respect that an institution and a program has, whereas rankings, I think, is a really good way to get some of the brand recognition evaluation. How much weight is in the name how much weight is this name going to hold as I'm applying for new jobs and seeking our new opportunities? Starting with accreditation, is really two main accreditations that you want to look for. One is going to be the programmatic, that's the AACSB, and on the other one is going to be the university as a whole. Now, you want to see it being regionally accredited, starting with the programmatic accreditation. Washington State does have the Carson College of Business specifically is among less than 2% of business schools in the world that are accredited at all levels. And that's at our bachelor's level, master's level, and doctoral levels by the Association of Advanced Collegiate Schools of Business, which is an international body that ranks or accredits different business programs. It's thought of as the gold standard, sort of the top-tier accrediting body for business programs. I'd say any school you look at, try to find the AACSB accreditation, because that's going to hold the most weight and really make sure the program is as strong as possible. Then from there, like I mentioned earlier, the regional accreditation is the other thing that you want to be seeking out. There's really two main accreditations for the university level. You've got either regional or national. Regional is typically the one that is most sought after, whereas national is usually ideal in my experience. But since we're in the Pacific Northwest, we're accredited by the Northwest Commission of Colleges and Universities. So we do hold sort of those two main accreditations that you want to see, regional plus AACSB. Now, moving to the right side of the screen, you are able to see the variety of different rankings of that the Executive MBA has. You can see the U.S. News and World Reports, excellent resource that ranks anything from cars to schools to programs. They've ranked us in number 20 for best online MBA programs for 2021. We've consistently been in the top 20 for the past 3 to 4 years, so we certainly have maintained a high ranking there. Additionally, there's another great resource below. That's Poet and Quaints. So they're very good academic ranking body. They currently have us at number 12 for 2021 for the best online MBA program. So those are pretty big ones right there. We also have a specific one to the executive program from CEO Magazine. They have us currently at number 55 for global executive MBAs. Then specific to our military students, we do have a pretty big military population. We're ranked number 13 for best online MBAs for veterans by U.S. News and World Reports. You can see we have both accreditations that you want to be seeing coming out, as well as the brand recognition through a variety of rankings. We don't typically chase rankings, but it's a great thing to see that some of that recognition there. All right. So now, Matt, can you go ahead and just tell us a little bit more about your role and some of the benefits and support we have for military and veteran students?
You bet. And I'll just touch lightly on this, and of course, always available to discuss it with anyone who may be interested in more. So, as Darnell said, we have a reasonably good representation. Probably anywhere between 10 and 20% of our EMBA students have some military affiliation, which actually is really great. They bring a lot of leadership and experience to the table, and they also pick up a lot from our students who, as you can imagine, have a wide array of expertise across all kinds of technical areas. There are some unique benefits that we try to afford these students, in keeping in mind that they may actually be active duty, so trying to help them complete this degree. And we also have some other pillars, one of which is, some professional development, again, to try and backfill some of the information and knowledge that other folks who spend a lifetime in industry have, but these students may not. And then the third piece is really just trying to create a community and a network for these students, try and make sure that they can be successful. So you see a quote on here from one of our great recent alums, Shane Sullivan, had a great career in the Navy and then leveraged this program to really launch his civilian career. So I would encourage you to check us out. If you have any questions, please feel free to contact me, and I'd love to be a resource for you. Thanks, Darnell.
Awesome. Thank you very much, Matt. It's been awesome to have you as part of the program. You've really built out a lot of great opportunities for our military students to really further that mission, whether it's climbing within the military, setting yourself up for transition, or just being a veteran and wanting to tap into the community. We appreciate everything you've done. And me being a Marine veteran myself, I really appreciate it as well. All right. So now I'm going to just give you a nice overview of the program. Here's some frequent questions and topics that I typically talk about with students. Starting off, it's 100% online program, so there's no mandatory travel for the Executive MBA. Any travel opportunity will be totally optional to you, so you can complete it basically from wherever you are. It's a really quick program. You can see we can complete the Executive MBA in about 16 months, so a little under a year and a half from the day you start to the time you finish. We've also designed it to be flexible. That's one core pillar of the design, and we've chosen here. So we've made it fully asynchronous for all of those mandatory sort of requirements. There's no mandatory time for you that you need to be in class or anything like that. So you're somewhat in control of your curriculum. Anything that is live will have the recording element to it, so you can watch it at a later date. We have those live sessions each week. That's also a huge thing that I want to highlight as I want to engage with students. We want our students to be connected with our professors and, arguably, more important, with the other classmates. We've seen some great networking here. Those live sessions that you're going to have each week are an element of that. But if you can't attend it, you have something going on, you're working late, you have family requirements, or choose to watch it later, there are going to be recordings there, and you can watch it on your own time. We do like to keep our class sizes kind of small here for the Executive MBA. So currently we're about 20 students per course. That way you're getting the immediate answers from that you need from your professors and the support that you need. And you're also able to connect pretty intimately with your classmates, really getting to know people in your courses alongside you and working together on various projects and assignments. Those are just a few main elements that I think really feed into the design for working professionals. We want this to be balanced alongside career and alongside family. We also have world-class faculty and curriculum. So really we're trying to stay cutting edge with the classes that we're teaching here. We want this to be more relevant in the sort of modern era, big emphasis on technology and innovation within the Executive MBA. And it's taught by excellent professors. The vast majority of the professors here have PhDs, and if they don't, they have a ton of industry experience, often paired with a master's degree. So really good people to be learning from and really good connections to be made. One thing that I think is incredible, it's an incredible beneficial thing, is that the next bullet point, the course structure. We have 15 courses, and they are 5-week courses. So essentially what we did is we made it a one class at a time program with the exception at the end. You're going to have your capstone project along with your regular course. What the structure does is it allows you to really just focus on one topic at a time. You know exactly where to spend your efforts, and you're not doing that sort of classic school juggle with your already balanced work, and it's alongside work and a family potentially. I do think that it's a huge benefit to our students to maintain that flexibility. We do end the program with our final requirement, which is going to be the capstone project. So most graduate programs have a final deliverable. Sometimes it's a big thesis paper. Other times it's a large comprehensive exam. We opted for the project where you're actually going to be developing a business plan from start to finish. And as we think that's the best way to really apply that material also and have a clear takeaway, something that you can apply to your career or future opportunities moving forward. We'll definitely be touching on that a little bit deeper down the line in this presentation. We have an International Coach Federation for professional coaching sessions. That's a fairly new development in my experience. We're really helping students take some practical outcomes from the program and applying them to their career and growth. We have the optional international field study that we're going to be having along in a slide later. It's a really cool opportunity that's fun, and it's very exciting as well. Then we have the optional Executive Leadership Conference. It's something we've specifically built out for executive students and a cool networking opportunity again. We'll also speak about that a little bit later on in the presentation. So here's some highlights from the program. We have 16 months for the length of the program, so it's quick, under a year and a half. It's 100% online, no travel, no residency required. And we also have that optional field study and leadership conference for more networking opportunities. All right. Now, being an enrollment advisor, I like to talk about the admission requirements. I want to give you a clear expectation of what's needed to put together a comprehensive and competitive application. Now, to start, you're going to have an online application. So you complete that, and there's a section that you'll be signing, of course. Within that application, we're going to get to a few different documents. We're going to get official transcripts from all schools that you've attended. We're going to have a current resume. A resume is certainly an important document for the executive MBAs. And we want to see the leadership and membership, management experience that you have. We're also going to get a letter of recommendation, just one. Ideally, I'd say try to get this from a manager or a supervisor, essentially. And then you're going to be putting their contact information in the application, and we'll send that out to them along with the required materials and instructions. After the letter of recommendation, you do have a statement of purpose essay that you're going to write. It's a fairly simple essay, 500 words or less. You're basically just covering the background, your background as far as your work and your school experience. You're covering your goals, what you're trying to do in your career, and then you're connecting those dots. Why am I a good fit for the program, given the background that I have, and why is the program a good fit for me, given the path that I'm on? From there, we also have the organizational chart, just showing sort of where you are within the hierarchy of your organization. If you're in a large company like Amazon, Microsoft, or something like that, we don't need the entire company's org chart. We just need sort of the specific department or a section of their business. Then we wrap up the application with a brief interview. That will be an enrollment advisor like myself, just asking a few different questions there. Next, under the documents bullet point, you see the experience bullet point. For the executive MBA, we are seeking students who have 5 or more years of management experience. So we want to see students where if they have a significant amount of leadership and they're on a path to some of their higher level or leadership that our curriculum is really targeting. That'll be what you're communicating through your resume primarily. From there, we also have a GPA requirement. Now, ideally, we're looking for a 3.0 or higher on a 4.0 scale. If you're below that, that doesn't mean that you're not qualified. We do make exceptions to the rule, typically each semester. So if you're under a 3.0, don't just write the program off. Definitely reach out to an advisor, and we could talk through sort of what opportunities and options you may have. Then, another important element is the GMAT exam. GMAT waivers are available for qualified applicants. I'd say a significant portion of the executive MBA applicants that I've worked with are getting GMAT waivers. However, if you need to take the exam, students are typically submitting around a 550 or better, and that number really is based on a few different factors. Now, if you're planning to take the exam, you want to know the score that you need to be shooting for individually, so reach out to an enrollment advisor to assist in that area. At the bottom here, you're going to see the tuition. So it's $1,296 per credit hour. That's not including cost of books. You're going to have a total of 42 credits in the program, so that's an overall tuition of $54,432 there. Those, again, are just some of the main highlights that I like to point out to my students. All right, now this slide, this is really going to cover what the course flow looks like, as well as what the courses look like online. So let's start at the top there. This is a sample of our spring 2022 session. So this breakdown that has the 5-week courses, what they look like, where they're spread out over the semester. We can see the first third of the semester goes in from January 10th through February 13th. Now, you might hop in with our managerial leadership and productivity class. Once that class concludes, once your 5 weeks is up, now you're moving into your next course. That will be rolling from February 21st through March 27th. Now, you might be focusing on operations management for the next 5 weeks. Then from there, after the class ends, you're going to be doing a quickly transition into your final class of the semester. This class will be going from March 28th through May 1st, and that will be your marketing management. So this is sort of how the 5-week course flow is. As you can see, it's very focused effort throughout. That way you're not spread thin on different topics. The bottom half of the slide does show what an actual course will look like to students. You can see this is what we use. This is a program called Canvas. People have used different platforms out there. A lot of people are familiar with Blackboard, and a lot of people are familiar with Canvas. That's sort of your main portal in the classroom. And this is an example of one of the early classes, BA 599, which is sort of an introductory into the Executive MBA, doing some strategic planning for personal and program success. You can see the different weeks. We really break it up sort of on a modular element with a weekly approach. So you'll have week 1 of doing my introductions. You'll click on that tab. You know exactly what to do, and your resources are going to be there. So it's clear navigation there. Now you move onto your week 2, week 3, and then week 4. So it's broken down in a pretty clear-cut structure for you guys. All right, now starting day 1, you'll have access to enrollment advisors. We're here to help you, to guide you through the admissions process. We're here to answer questions that you may have about the program, address any concerns that you might have, if you think there's something that could get in the way of you being successful as a student. Now, as soon as you're admitted into the program and as you're about to start, we're going to hand you off to our student support advisor. Now, for the Executive MBA, currently we have our lead student support advisor, Megan Steinbest. She's the advisor for all the MBA students, and she is awesome. Really, her role is to guide students through the entirety of the program. So she'll help you navigate any situation that comes your way. She'll help you with the schedule, help you with the registration, really basically offload a lot of the administrative side of things onto her plate. Then, being that we're on an online program, we do have pretty thorough technical support. So every individual application you might use has a technical support line and a team that can help you out with that. Then Washington State University as a whole, we have an awesome tech support team. It's called the Crimson Help Desk. They're able to help basically with a lot of things, with a lot of the application issues, if you might have them, and technical support requests. Like I mentioned earlier, another part of support that we have is a smaller class size. That allows our professors to be more hands-on with the assisting students and teaching more thoroughly. And it's also another way to connect with your classmates better, too. Then we have section instructors, where we break up the larger class sizes into smaller sections, where now you have the lead professor being sort of the mastermind behind the curriculum. Now, however, you have a section instructor who's an expert on the curriculum, and they're able to assist with individual homework questions, assignments, and get you on the right path. Now, as you can see, a lot of layers of support. I think that's a big reason why our awesome candidates are successful in the program. We do typically see about a 90% graduation rate for the Executive MBA. All right, so now this is our day in the life slide. So I want to bring on Hazel May on the conversation. Hazel May, are you ready for me to sort of get your feedback on what everything looks like to be an Executive MBA student?
Yeah, thanks so much, Darnell. Before I start, I do also want to mention those of you that are attending, just a big point of gratitude and thanks for you all in taking this step in researching this particular program. Of course, you're going to hear a lot from me, especially really positive things about it, but it's a really important step for you to do this work, take the time to do it, which we all know we're very busy at the moment, most of us are, and really choose that, make the choice that WSU will be your choice program. So I will start this off by saying I'm going to be completely real with you all. I think they asked me to come and do that, and although I'll be really optimistic and positive, I think there are some neat nuances to our different experiences that I would love to shed some light and give you some information on. So first and foremost, everything that Darnell and Matt and my counterparts Mitch have all shared about WSU have all been very truthful to my particular experience of the Executive MBA. And I'm like looking and hearing through it again. It reminded me of all the things that I thought of to make WSU my choice. So I hope you all take that to heed and use that as well as you make your decisions. But as Darnell was mentioning, the very intentional way that they schedule the courses and think about the program is very much so in tune to working professionals. I am at a point in my life where personal life as well, I don't have children or any of those other, responsibilities, but going into an endeavor like an MBA has to be really thoughtful, especially if you're a busy professional or maybe you're in a space where you really want to invest this time into yourself and maybe the one thing that you're doing. So the one class at the time, kind of carousel that Darnell was mentioning, I will say is one of my favorite points of the program. It helped me really focus in on the subject matter and really get involved in the learnings. So we have, just as the slide mentions, we have classes for those 5-week sessions at a time during the quarter that begin on Monday and end on Sunday. Usually it begins with a section, like everyone in the program who's in that class going through a core or class with the main instructor. And then you have your smaller classes with those section professors that happen later in the week that give you insights on the homework, additional readings, additional conversations to really get to know and network with those smaller classes that Darnell mentioned. If you're like me, you start the Monday knowing, and actually if you start the quarter, you start the quarter with a plan of attack, and you look at how you're going to schedule your life, your working and personal life, to fit this program. And I will say it's pretty easy to do as long as you're thoughtful and intentional about it. So while I have the opportunity to go to also the main lectures, I would actually also attend my assigned section. But in some cases, depending on the week, I would also do the additional sections just because, as Darnell mentioned, the staff and the faculty that they select for these different courses are amazing. And it's wonderful to get different insights and perspectives and hear how different folks present information and also to hear from their industrial experience. So I may be a little bit of an overachiever, but it's available to you with the way that they have this program set up. Also, what Darnell mentioned, I think throughout the program, I may have had like a vacation planned or something like that. The recordings are also a really wonderful way to keep in pace with the course, especially if you have to miss for extenuating circumstances. But that asynchronous model is so helpful in our day and age, especially considering things continue to change and you never know what may be happening in your life. Just as it mentions here, you are able to do this program if you're a working professional with, I would say, American hours. They have most of their classes in the evenings. And so, again, if you are able to attend and get that live collaboration, conversation, I recommend it, but it's definitely not required for the learnings. Everything's recorded, including the chat, which can also be a lively way to get involved and engage with your classmates, are recorded as well for you to review at a later time. And again, if it's something you can attend live, it's doable if you can schedule it out within your regular schedule. It's about 20 hours per week of work. I would totally agree with that with the class times. They offer quite a bit of material to read, and I know there was a question around cost for books. I'll have someone else more who can probably speak to that a little bit clearer, but I had, just to put this out there, I overestimated the cost of books, so that was a nice surprise at the end of the program, and the materials that I did receive were all very meaningful. I probably kept, looking at my bookshelf, about a dozen of the books, just because they are very traditionally business-related books that you would want to kind of tap into in your future careers. And, I love this tip around remote teamwork. The best things about the program, and Darnell mentioned it, and others as well, with WSU having the alumni network it has, it was one of the main reasons I chose WSU, the people you meet with and you connect with, whether it's live in those classes or through the discussion boards or other engaging activities that you do with your fellow Cougs, you learn and you get to meet and understand like where people are coming from and why they're doing this program. And it's interesting when you're all on the same pathway for an end goal, how that can continue to like bond you and also work through the experiences together. So yes, remote teamwork is very key. I was one who always, when I was live, had my video on, engaging with the professor, engaging with my fellow classmates, and now I know I have lifelong friendships along with a wonderful professional network that I will tap into continuously. I see it.
Absolutely.
Oh, good. I was going to say, I see something in the chat. Should I answer that question there, Donnell?
I didn't see it yet. Yeah, we'll answer that in our Q&A session. So we'll be getting to that shortly. But Hazel May, can you tell me what you did for your capstone project? We know it's building a business plan, so typically coming up with a new opportunity, a new product. Tell me what your group did for your capstone.
Yeah, so just as you mentioned, Darnell, it's we started from the start to finish, from ideation to coming up with a business idea through feasibility testing and also the creation of a business plan with all of the parts of it combined. And our idea, which I shouldn't be sharing this, I'm happy to share it. It's something that if someone else can do it, it would be a wonderful thing, or I will join you in later doing it. We were working on an app that would be almost a combination of LinkedIn from a recruiting standpoint and networking standpoint, but it tied in the learning aspect of job paths, I would call it, or learning paths, to help individuals who are wanting to switch careers to be able to curate. Our app would curate content that would help people gain the experience and knowledge they would need through just working with reputable instructors or reputable business people that would align them and mentor them through this particular pathway of switching jobs. And it was called Evolve because it would help evolve not only your current career if you were kind of wanting to move forward in that, but help you switch to another industry, another type of role if that was what you're aspiring to. So I'm still very connected with my capstone buddies as well, and that's something that, very, very valuable experience for something that we literally probably now could shop around and look for those angel investors and see if that's something we wanted to pursue.
Awesome. Thank you very much, Hazel May, for sharing. And the good thing about that is, you have all these different people with different backgrounds coming together and working on a project together. It's got to be an awesome experience. And I got one last question for you. I'm sure we've been looping it back in the Q&A section, but tell me, I want to know two things. What was the most fun course and the most relevant course that you took? Then after that, I'm going to ask you sort of which was the most difficult for you. Let's start with the fun one first. Tell me what jumps out to you when you think about the curriculum that you took.
Yeah, the most fun one, I will start with that one, was definitely the Leadership in Practice course. And forgive me, I forget the titles. I have a lot of stuff stuffed in my brain right now. But it was wonderfully structured in that we learned about both a Western perspective and an Eastern perspective on leadership within the U.S. or within business structures. So we read from Shakespeare to Confucius, and so that was something that was a lot of reading. And you'll probably hear others complain about the reading, but it was something that felt really, really impactful, potentially to the work that I do, being an HR learning and development professional. So that was the most fun for me, just because it just felt like really within my wheelhouse and just interesting reading. I love tying history to something that we can apply to today's world. The most applicable one, honestly, is you mentioned tech and having a focus on tech, not only from a support standpoint, but they have a really strong focus on technology and innovation with the Executive MBA. And I'm currently in an interim role, which is I probably got through my time at WSU, that is really looking at product ownership and in implementing new technologies to my organization. And the reason why I mentioned that it was the most applicable is that I literally could take a business case that I wrote in my class and present it to my IT leaders where I'm not in IT, and we implemented a few new technologies. And like I said, led me to this potential new role that I may be leading into. And that is, if you think about the world and the future of work, a lot of the technology focuses is going to be helpful in any type of leadership role that you want to pursue. So it's already helped me leaps and bounds.
Okay. Well, Hazel May, again, we really appreciate that. You have awesome insight into what it's like to be a student. We'll bring you back around the Q&A section, but at this time, I'm going to pass it off to Mitch. Really quick before go ahead.
Yeah, absolutely. So as you know, the program itself is 100% online. So we don't have any residency requirements or anything, but we do still want to offer various networking opportunities for those that might still want that. There's a good chunk of the student population who are totally okay with this program being fully remote and then and not needing to network. But we found over the years that there's just as much of a population that even though the program itself is 100% online, they do still want those opportunities to network with their peers and their colleagues and staff and faculty and whatnot. So over the years, we've tried to establish and get going a few networking opportunities for our students, and I'm going to go through some of them right here. I'm actually going to skip the international field study for now because I think that's one of the next slides, and I'll jump more into that in the next slide. But one of the things that we offer unique for EMBA students is the EMBA Leadership Conference, and we offer that every year. It typically falls the last week or so in September, and we hold that in Seattle. And what that is it's an opportunity for our EMBA students to not only network with other students in the program, but we also have staff and faculty are there. The night before the actual conference starts, we hold a nice dean's reception where the dean of our college comes and mingles with the students. It's a really cool. It's just a really cool opportunity, and I actually think we have a slide on this specifically as well. So I'll go into more detail on that. Other things we do are various meet and greets. Those are informal events for students just to network. We'll typically host those, and then students will just mingle. Those are fairly new. We started them in 2019 with the hopes of getting a lot of them going. And then, of course, the pandemic hit, and we had to sideline all of those. But with the country opening back up, we should see more of those opening up. We've held a few of those in Seattle. We will be holding one in Spokane. And then for future, we're going to be looking at hotspots of student demographics to see where we could branch out and hold these nationwide as well. So if you're not in the Pacific Northwest, just keep your eye out for other opportunities that might be headed near you. Another opportunity we have is the Carson College Power Breakfast. In fact, we just held that a couple weeks ago in Seattle as well. Same thing, an opportunity for you to network with other colleagues or with other peers and classmates. That is open to all Carson College students, so that also includes undergrad students, may include doctoral students, staff, faculty, stakeholders. It's just a breakfast from 7:30 to 9. We hold once a year in Seattle. Where we'll bring in either a panel to speak or maybe executive coaches or just depending on the topic, who the speakers might be. So, for example, the one we held a couple weeks ago, we had the executive director for the Washington Employers for Racial Equity come speak, and then we had the president and CEO of Puget Sound Energy come speak as well. But in years past, we've had authors. In 2019, we had Kyle Smith, our WSU men's basketball coach. So it's a cool opportunity. We're actually going to be holding a power breakfast in Spokane as well, and I don't have any details on that other than the date will be April 27th, 22. So if that is something you might be interested in, I would go ahead and pencil that into your calendar now. Another opportunity we have been a part of is the Cougs First shows. Essentially, it's kind of just a big trade show of Coug-owned businesses where stakeholders, alum, whatever, have the opportunity to network with business owners, Coug business owners, and have the opportunity to conduct business. But again, it's more of just a networking opportunity. It's a pretty cool event. That day, typically, we'll have President Schultz speak to the group before the trade show, and I think there's some networking and after parties as well. They've held a few of those in Seattle because that's where a bulk of our stakeholders are located, but they are also going to be holding a Cougs First show in Spokane this spring. Another cool opportunity are the Alumni Association events. And like I said, as a student, you can do a discounted rate to be a part of that Alumni Association. They hold all sorts of events, but one of the big ones that they do are the football watch parties. So if you go onto the Alumni Association site and you put in where you're located, you can see what opportunities are happening around you. One of the big ones are these football watch parties. So they'll pick a location where Cougs can meet and watch the football games together. Those are really cool events. If you have the opportunity, I would highly recommend attending one of those if you can. The big celebration for us is commencement on campus. We do hold commencement in the fall, in December for our summer and fall grads. But we also hold it in spring. And if you were going to pick one time of the year to come visit campus, I would highly recommend coming to our spring commencement celebration in May. The campus and just the area are beautiful that time of year, and it's a huge celebration. A lot of people come to campus for that. We do hold a Carson College reception the night before to celebrate your accomplishments and your achievements. With undergrad, doctoral students as well, but staff, faculty, our dean will typically make a toast. So again, if you're going to pick one event to come to on campus, I highly recommend you come for our commencement in the spring specifically. And then the last bullet here on this slide are the military student events. Matt holds some really cool events for the military and veteran students. So I'm actually going to kick it over to him to let him speak a minute on those.
Great, thanks, Mitch. Yeah, I just wanted to touch on a couple things. One, what Mitch said before, the WSU alum network is kind of is a powerful thing, and so one of the goals, my goals being here at Washington State University, was to leverage that community and also our veteran community, because I think two of those combined can create some pretty special experiences for those students. So we have a couple events. I won't go through all of them, but one of them is a spring fall call we have with all our military students, industry experts, and private or some nonprofit organizations to assist and elevate, some of these issues around veteran employment. We do workshops over the course of the semester, so over the year and a half that you'd be in the program, we do some of those things. And we also have some opportunities with some professional coaching for some of our students who apply for that. So we have a lot of things going on for these students to help them get connected, because, as I mentioned before, if they spend a long period of time in the service, they don't have the same network that maybe other folks do who spend a lot of time in private industry. So, this is great. This is exciting for these students, and I look forward to working with you if you decide to become a part of our community.
Awesome. Thanks, Matt. So the Executive MBA Leadership Conference, given time, we only have about 10 minutes left, and we have a few more slides, so I'm going to race through these next ones fairly quickly, especially since I've already touched on this one a little bit. But like I said, it's an exclusive event for our EMBA students, not only for networking, but is also, we bring in panels. In fact, Hazel May was actually a part of the EMBA panel that spoke a few weeks ago. We brought in authors, coaches. As you can see here on the slide, you can see what the topics were. And I actually, Hazel May, if you wouldn't mind just spending a minute or so talking about your experience as a student, because you've actually attended twice and then once as a presenter. Do you mind just hopping in and talking about your experience?
Yeah, I will say that it's the one opportunity where it's, I would say, approved or like provided by the university to have us come together in person. And so for me, the biggest benefit for these experiences not only are the wonderful speakers and the content that they provide, but is the connection with my fellow Cougs and some of the faculty members. The times that I went as a student, I went virtually when it was virtual, and then I went this last time as an alumni. And it has been each and every time as beneficial from a content standpoint, but the people connection is the icing on top. It definitely it makes you come together really well. And so highly recommend on all accounts that even the virtual one was done in a fashion that allowed for connection and also just pride in being a Coug and learning and taking some time to learn and be there for yourself. So.
Awesome. Thank you. And that, Hazel May, that brings up a good point. You can do that as an alum as well. So even when you graduate, you are still invited and more than welcome to attend these events. And then this last slide, I think, before Q&A is the international field study. So I'll just run through this quickly as well. This is not a mandatory trip. This is completely optional. But the students do have the opportunity to travel abroad every year. Obviously, with COVID, we did sideline it last year. But for 2022, that trip is planned as of right now. Depending on where you're traveling from, you're looking at either 10 or 11 days with travel. And the trip is meant to be a nice mix of both business and cultural activities. For I don't know how many years past, the trip has actually been in China. So the places they've visited are like John Deere and Boeing. But they also visited the Chinese company Alibaba. This year, though, they're going to a new place. They're going to go to Prague and Estonia, which is really cool. If you are interested in attending this, we can't make any promises, but with some notice, the trip can be somewhat tailored based on the interest of the students. Like, for example, on one of the trips we held a couple years ago, there were a few students from Boeing in the aerospace field. So one of the company visits was Boeing's R&D center in Beijing. We have those alliances and those connections in Estonia and Prague as well. So if you are interested, like I said, we can't make any promises, but with enough notice, we might be able to tailor some of those visits. So if you have the opportunity, I would highly recommend it. And I think that's it, Darnell.
All right, awesome, Mitch. Thank you, Matt, as well as Hazel May, for expanding on everything. We're close to the end of our hour, so real quick, if anybody has to hop off before the Q&A session, if you're looking to start, we got the January 10th start date. That's our spring semester. We'd love to have you join the program. Application deadline is December 7th. I'm going to say the sooner the better you apply. It just gives you a better experience on the onboarding. So give us a call. We're happy to help and see if it's the right fit for you. But like I said, let's move into the Q&A session. We've got a ton of good questions out there, and I want to begin answering those now. All right, so let me see what's out there. All right, so do you have any estimate on cost and books, other required items to get a better overall understanding of total program cost? Mitch, can you speak on this one?
So I think, Darnell, you highlighted some of that already. The cost per credit was $12.96. A credit for 42 credits. So I think that puts the program at just over, was it $54,000 for tuition. And then, the books and stuff are not included. Actually, it might be interesting, Hazel May, with you having just finished, what do you know about per class what you think you spent on books?
I was trying to do the calculation real quick. before I started the program, I estimated $400 per class because, textbooks are expensive. And like I mentioned, I overestimated, and I would anticipate for each class no more than $150, and a lot of the times it was a lot less than that.
Awesome. Thank you. Those are essentially the cost of the program because we don't have any residency. You're not paying any student fees. So aside from tuition and books, that's essentially what you're looking at.
Awesome. So next question. What's the maximum length for the program for people not able to complete the program in 16 months? We actually give you a total of 6 years to complete the program. That's for emergencies, hospital visits, anything that comes up that's important that you need to take some time off of school. And for situations like that, you want to reach out to your academic advisor to get everything situated. Okay. Next question. The next cohort for spring 2022 starts soon. Is the enrollment on a rolling basis or just during certain seasons of the year? For the EMBA, it's certain times. We start in the first, so it would be like spring 1, fall 1, and summer 1. There is no fall 2, fall 3 for the EMBA. It starts on the first of that term. Next question for Hazel May. Was there part of the curriculum that you have found most helpful in your job at BECU?
I think I mentioned it a little bit already, and it was the class around innovation. And so one of the things that you take away from that particular class is organizing your innovations and how to operationalize it. And that's where I was able to bring in a brand new technology, a virtual classroom, if you're all wondering, a virtual classroom to BECU that we needed thanks to COVID. So that was, being able to immediately apply that was, at this point, the most helpful in my current role and I believe going forward.
All right, awesome. Next question. What's the geographical distribution of students in the program? Mitch, can you touch on this one?
Yeah, absolutely. So a bulk of our students, in fact, I just pulled these numbers yesterday for a different webinar. I think we're sitting like almost at 50% of our entire student base is in the Pacific Northwest and specifically in or around Seattle. But we do have students dispersed nationwide and then even worldwide. So some of the hot spots, just off the top of my head, of where I know we have a fair amount of students outside of the Pacific Northwest are like Southern California, specifically around Los Angeles. Phoenix, Arizona is another one. There's a few spots in Texas. I believe like Denver is up there as well. So most of the students are primarily in the Northwest, which is not surprising, but we are dispersed not only nationwide, but worldwide as well. We just top of mind, I think we had a student in Egypt. Let me think. We've had a few in India. So, we are worldwide.
Awesome. Next question. Do most people complete the program in 16 months? Mitch, you could take this one too.
Yeah, they do. Because a lot of people who are getting in with how busy they are, they want to essentially get in and get out of the program so that they can move on. So yes, most do finish within that 16 months. As Darnell said, we do have a 6-year allowance for you to complete your degree. But we do discourage that if we can, mostly because if you do need to hop out of a course within your program, there's a chance that course may not come around again for a while, which would delay your graduation. So knowing that, most students do graduate within that 16 months.
Awesome. 2 more questions before it's time. One question, are there breaks in the curriculum? Mitch?
Is that for me again? There is a break. between your fall semester and your spring semester, but that's it. So when you finish your spring semester, you'll jump right into your summer semester, and then same with fall. The only real break would be between fall and spring.
Awesome. And the last question, what is typically the age of the MBA students? Hazel May, you can help with this one. You saw a lot of your classmates and everything. What do you think?
Yeah, I think it's quite a varied group age-wise, and I'll disclose that I'm 36, if that helps. I don't know. So you'll find that similar to what they were sharing from a prospective student and what they're looking from an applicant standpoint, they are looking for folks that have either some tenure or experiences at a leadership level, and it does create a lot more experience and wealth of knowledge and opportunities to share a little bit more. So they are mid-career range is how I would describe it.
Awesome.
Yeah,
well,
and Darnell, I can actually weigh in on that real quick.
Cool.
The average age of the MBA students, I believe, is 38, and the average work experience, I think, is about 16 years.
Nice. Okay. Well, thank you, everybody. Thank you, Mitch. Thank you, Matt. Thank you, Hazel May. Thank you so much for coming, and big thank you to everybody who was in attendance today. We would love to have further conversations with you guys to see if, this is the right program for you. Application deadlines, again, are December 7th. Start date is January 10th. You can see our number and our calendar. Actually, if you want to schedule an appointment with an advisor, we're here to help with that as well. I'm going to wrap things up and say go Cougs to everybody. So thank you again for attending.